we find ourselves checking the inboxes once every 6 minutes, and we've accidentally enslaved ourselves to these communication tools, to no one's real advantage. To not have something that forces you on a regular basis to ignore your inbox for 2 days and get yelled at, like, that should be the metric that you're probably not getting everything you as a human desire out of a job. In your life.
Right, in your life.
Yeah. Email spreads because it solves a real problem, right? Fax machines, voicemail, memos, it does all that better and cheaper. So it spreads in the 1990s because it solves a problem, right? That's all good. Once it's in the office, and everyone's autonomous, everyone's left to their own, you figure out how you want to do your own work, and you introduce low-friction digital communication. We began to work in this new way, what I call the hyperactive hive mind. It's so easy. Just, can we jump on a call? What about this? What do you think about this client? And we fell into this new way of working because there's no one to actually say, wait, there's problems with this way of working, because we don't do that type of thinking and knowledge work right now. It's up to the individual. Is that I have extreme clarity on what's important, what I actually want to do. Like, it's very clear to me, right? Yeah. It's like I'm working on this paper, I'm working on this article, I'm trying to get these podcast episodes, and like there's things that are like high value, takes a lot of time. And I know without a doubt that's the lever that matters, that's what matters for my career. And if that's taking up a lot of time, then okay, my inbox will be the first thing to suffer. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. People yell at me a little bit, but it's okay. If you don't have that, and all you really do is like, it's just a lot of email, there's a lot of Zoom, there is no hard surface to push back against.
Right, there's no
that
standard.
Allows you
there's
to
no
say,
standard to judge, like this is and this is not worth it.
Like, this is what else do I have to do? Like, we just bounce things back and forth.
Josh, not being as familiar with your work, even though I gave him a copy of Deep Work 18 months ago when he joined the company.
So, well, first of all, he needs to get out of here.
He hasn't read it yet.
First of all, yeah.
But his like worry that you're like one of the hyper-optimization bros, right?
Yeah.
Or there's this thing like, if I can just get the right combination of neurotropics in my morning coffee, right? Or if I can just hit my skin with the right degree of UV light at precise points in my circadian rhythms.
And your watch has to show you the right rings closing
everything's tracked. Count the macros. Optimization, and that it's optimization for the sake of attempting to fill like a deep spiritual void inside of you. It's like optimization to what end, buddy? Optimization to what end?
This is pretty far from tech bro optimization. Right?
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out like what really matters in these things. Am I doing the things that matter? I mean, there's a real core of minimalism in it, right? Like, focus on the things that matter. Don't get distracted on the things that don't. You know, but for a lot of people I talk to, like young listeners, whatever, they've never done any exercise of this type. Like, we just know historically what are the things that really matter in your life. There's going to be craft, like what you do, what your work. There's community, connection to family, friends, and the people around you. Constitution, it's going to be your physical and mental health. There's going to be contemplation, so this is the ethical, the philosophical, the theological. Sometimes we throw in a final one, celebration, like the actual enjoyment and having gratitude for just things that are cool in the world.
Yeah.
Like a baseball game on a sunny day.
Just the raw reality of existence.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome, yeah.
Here are the things. Take them one by one. We came up with this whole notion, which worked pretty well, which is you start with, we call it a keystone habit in each of the buckets, right? So you figure out one thing you do in each of those buckets every day that's not trivial but not intractable, that just signals to yourself, each of these things I take seriously in my life, right? That's the foundation.
Right.
Then next, you borrow an idea out of the Musar tradition from sort of medieval Judaism and say, we're going to rotate through maybe a month to 2 months at a time each of these buckets. And during that month to 6 weeks or whatever it is, it's what we're really going to focus on and think about that part of our life and what we want to do, what we want to commit to not doing, what we want to commit to do, what changes we want to make to amplify this part of our life. Okay, now the next bucket, now the next bucket. And then the next year, go back through.
Right.
So I don't, look, I'm borrowing from a lot of other philosophical and theological traditions, but the point is, man, you got to have something like that. So in 2016 is when I published Deep Work. So Deep Work is about meaning in the world of work and unintentional impacts of technology on meaning in the world of work. So it's really about unbroken focus, creates more value, it's more fulfilling, and we undervalue it, right?
You talk about how if your brain has been trained such that at the first point of friction in a cognitively demanding task, you have to escape to cheap serotonin.
Yeah.
You need to fight that, right? With the stuff we're doing where there's a lot of different moving pieces, you're trying to get all these things to kind of operate as a unified whole, like the analytical, the narrative, the aesthetic, the audit, like the visuals, the audit, all of it.
Yeah.
And it's a high friction creative event.
Yeah.
If you do block out time to do something,
yeah,
you might have to face the fact that your brain, at least in that moment, is not up to the creative task that's in front of you. And right now, my brain is bumping up against the limits of its abilities.
Yeah.
And to just sit there
yeah.
and have to face the cold reality of your own creative capacities. Yeah. I'm sympathetic to some people that just want to drug themselves with cheap digital distraction.
So like we're in a culture now that's increasingly built around cognitive output, cognitive facilities becoming more important. So let's go like ancient Sparta as an analogy, because it's a culture in which physical prowess was crucial to cultural success, especially like warfighting prowess, right? Now imagine you were in that culture and you said, look, I don't like feeling uncomfortable. Like if I feel real tired or my muscles start to strain, like I don't like that, I'm going to stop I don't want to do that, I want to stop the training, I want to go get some sleep or something like that. It would be a real problem. And if you look to how we actually train, especially elite military units today, it's all about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like that's the entire point of Navy SEAL BUDS training, for example, is you can deal with a lot more like terrible discomfort than you think and keep going. And if you can't, then we need to weed you out, because that's going to be a big part of actually operating at an elite level. There's cognitive equivalence here. But of course the thing is, like you're never going to hit that aspiration all the time. Like people who train a lot physically, sometimes they're just not feeling it. They're wiped. They just can't get through the wall. They don't hit the times they want to hit or something like that. But they just have a vocabulary built around it. That, like, it's the discomfort. That's what it feels like to train. But again, we don't have the vocabulary. There's a lot. We don't have the vocabulary for a cognitive culture. And without the vocabulary, it's really difficult to think about what's working, what's not working.